Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for being here with us. It's such a pleasure to have you all here. It's like I'm very excited to a lot of questions that I have for you. So I will start introducing you better. So we have Oscar here. Hi, Oscar.
Hey.
Oscar is CEO and co-founder of Epidemic Sound, has helped millions of creators build their sound identity, and today he's also bringing some exciting news about a launch that you did today, right?
Yes, today.
So stay tuned. Nice to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Jenny, one of the biggest names in YouTube Shorts, turned short form storytelling into a business, showing how creativity and consistency can grow side by side. So it's super exciting to have you here.
Yeah, super excited to be here.
And then we do have Steve. And Steve is a filmmaker and founder of Learn Online Video. And he teaches millions how to make videos that truly stand out, transforming technical skills into creative freedom.
Great to be here. Hey, everyone.
So we have very short time, so I will jump into the questions. And I will be the first with you, Jenny, if it's fine for you. So, Jenny, you've cracked the code for short-term storytelling. And what's your process for turning a simple idea into something that people will scrolling past?
The number one thing for making a viral video is having a curiosity gap. So I like to do that by starting my videos with a hook that is a question, because questions are naturally intriguing. People will not watch a video if they do not want to watch until the end. So the hook is super important for not only hooking people, but also getting them into the end. And you do that by asking a question. But it needs to be a question that they actually want to know the answer to. So with any topic, try to find what's that curiosity gap that you can incorporate, and what's a question that the viewer will find out the answer to by the end of the video.
Yeah, this is tough to do. It's not so easy. But then you can follow Jenny to figure out how to do this better, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Oscar, you've taught, music shapes how stories feel. If you don't have music and sound effects on our video, it will be very boring and annoying somehow. What you've learned about how creators can use the sound to build their own brand. We talk a lot about colors and tone, but I don't see a lot talking about how the sound reflects your personality too. How does it work?
So, the way we think about basically the entire world around us, there are many different frameworks, but one that I find particularly useful is that we all live in the attention economy. So at the core of a lot of what we do, it's about capturing attention, to Jenny's point, by asking a question. I think to complement curiosity, you need an emotional component, because at the center of storytelling is basically you want to provide an emotion to the person who's watching. It's either joy, fear, desire, excitement. There can be a number of things. I think that the number one thing that enables emotion is music, because I would argue that content without sound is a bit like food without taste. It's like empty calories. And so a lot of content out there is just that, like empty calories, fast food. It doesn't sort of hit the spot, and it's definitely not memorable. But equally important, like hooking somebody with a great intellectual question, the same is true for music. You need to spark an emotion. And there are basically two ways you can do that. You can play the short game or the long game. And the short game is typically if you want to use music which is here and now, very, very relevant, so maybe something which is arguably super famous. And short term, that might help you. But if you're in it for the long term, if you want to build catalog, if you want to build content that sustains, like hits of today become boring in a week or a month, and they actually become detrimental. Like, I don't want to hear that track another time. So that's one way of thinking about it. The more long-term is investing more heavily into music and either aligning it deeply with your content or contrasting it, but being very particular about what is the nature of the sound, how does it complement the question, and what's the emotion I'm trying to evoke. And then I think that it's the one sense that you can't turn off. You can choose not to watch something, not to touch, not to taste, but you can't switch your ears off. So it's a very persuasive, but at the same time, you need to be very, very careful about that trust.
Yeah, I hope you guys are taking notes. So, Steve, for you, You've taught millions how to make better videos, and I'm curious about what's the methodology that separates the amateur to professional producers?
Well, it's not the equipment. Don't
Yeah.
think because you've bought a nice expensive camera that that's going to make you a professional.
Yeah.
So for me, the biggest difference between a beginner and a professional is a professional knows exactly who they're making their videos for. So a beginner, for example, they'll make a variety of different content for different niches, different styles, different topics, and they're trying to sort of reach everybody. But if you try and reach everybody, you end up reaching nobody. So understanding who you're making your videos for makes the how a lot easier. So in my case, for example, I'm teaching mostly beginner filmmakers. So how I speak will be aimed, I'm not talking like I'm working on a Hollywood set, for example. I'm cutting out all of the jargon. I'm speaking clearly and concisely. Because I could potentially be talking to someone who's picking up a camera for the very first time. But if you understand who you're talking to, and you understand what they care about and what they struggle with, that's what's going to differentiate you between a beginner and someone who's a professional.
This is cool. Usually people think that equipment is the first thing to buy, right?
Yeah. And in fact, I teach on my channel. I show you can literally do everything you need to do using your smartphone and free editing software. And I teach a lot of that on my channel. I show you how to take the most simplistic equipment and shoot professional-looking videos with it. So don't get fooled into thinking because you get the new lens, a ton of lighting, that's going to make you stand out.
Awesome. There's a lot of people here in the audience, and I think this tip will be very helpful for them to start producing the content. Jenny, I want to know more about you. You've said that knowing your audience is everything, as Steve was saying. What signals or patterns do you look for before deciding what to post or what to stop posting?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Steve was saying, knowing your avatar is super important. Because if you upload one piece of content, there's some people who would say this is the best thing they've ever watched, and there's other people who would say the complete opposite, which is why you want to have a specific avatar. So when you're creating, please think about what age is this person? What do they like to do? What do they not like to do? Who do they like watching? What do they do on their free time? What do they do for work? Try to understand who this person really is so you can tailor the content for them. And I like to do this by transparently using AI. So I love to ask AI, what do you think about these hooks? Can you help me pick out the best video ideas and use it as a creative assistant? And I will give it the context of my avatar and even upload the names of my videos and the hooks and even the outline of it and share what the view count was on it. Because even if you have a video that's amazing, again, it may not do well with my audience because they don't watch that piece of content. So it's important to be thinking about my avatar when I'm creating content. So that's how I decide what to post. And how to decide what not to post? Well, most creators would say, you post a video, it didn't do well, okay, I'm never going to do that ever again. That's like what 99% of creators would do. But what I'm saying is actually the complete opposite. Sometimes you'll post a piece of content and it'll do terrible, and it's because it went to the wrong audience. Again, like what we were saying, is some audience like content and other ones don't like that same piece of content, which is why when I post a video, I look at the analytics, and if I see that my view rate was low, meaning that in the first 3 seconds, people were not hooked. However, the retention rate was amazing. People left in the beginning, but they stayed until the end. Maybe I need to change up the hook. So I'll make that same video, or maybe make another video idea with that same structure and change the hook. Post it. Maybe it does well, and if it doesn't, don't give up yet. Try again, look at the analytics, see what it's telling you. What are the viewers saying? And keep messing around with the video until it works. So I like to do that at least 3 times before giving up on a video idea.
Thanks for sharing. Sure.
Quick question. How often are you both surprised about the videos and how they perform? Like, does it often happen that you say, this is the best thing ever, and then the numbers tell you, apparently not?
Yeah, that's how it is. And sometimes even the opposite, where you think this is never going to do well, but you want to post it anyway, and sometimes it just absolutely blows up. But yeah, sometimes it's literally as simple as changing the edit, or even like the music. It actually makes a huge difference, like what you were saying, because if you're listening to a song that let's say the video is more serious and it's very quirky, and you're trying to reach that audience that wants a serious tutorial, they're not going to watch the video because they're going to think it's silly. And then on the contrary, if you're watching a video where you need to know what's going to happen at the end and the music doesn't feel like there's suspense building up, then they're not going to watch to the end. That's why I love using Vivaldi. Vivaldi's music is so, and like you were talking about branding, that's one of the ways. I like to pick an artist and mess around with their different tracks. But yeah, music does play a big role in building that suspense.
Yeah, and I'll talk about music again. Like Oscar, today you released Studio Drops, is that right? I'm so excited for you to let people know what it is.
So I can't hide my excitement, in part because I'm here with Jenny and Steve, right? But also, we've had a huge launch today. And in a nutshell, we've launched a product which we're calling Epidemic Studio, and it's quite revolutionary to be fair. As both Jenny and Steve can testify to, historically the way you make content is that you have this great piece of footage, and then you spend a ton of time looking for relevant music and sound effects. And when you find the right stuff, what you intuitively can't do is adapt the music to the video. Instead, you have to recut the video to fit the music because of legal rights and sort of how music is created and sort of because of the beats. Well, I'm proud to say that today we're launching Studio, which is actually facilitating a completely new way of creating content. So what you can do now with Epidemic is you can upload a video, we use generative AI, and we soundtrack the equivalent of 3 billion views every single day. And so we get a lot of signal of what music really works in soundtracking, what sound effects really work. And so we'll look at the piece of video that you uploaded, and then we'll go through our entire catalog of music, which covers like hundreds of thousands of tracks and sound effects, all created by top-of-the-range artists and creators. And then we'll automatically recommend into your timeline, this is the music, these are the sound effects, that looks like water, that's a door. And so we use AI to do the heavy lifting, the grunt work, which takes hours to do. We allow humans then to look at that and determine tastes and hooks and throw that around. We then deploy Adapt on top of it such that you can now start to change and adapt the music to fit the video instead of the other way around, all while making sure that creators retain all the upside and artists make the music. So I think it's a beautiful scenario, because I think the one thing that's missing in an AI world right now, because there's so much innovation, but there's no hope. I don't think that there's a vision for content creators and humans where AI actually augments what creators can do, what artists can do. And I think that we've gotten to a point now where AI plays a huge role, but it augments creators' creativity and the human element, and it just sort of accelerates creativity. So I'm very excited.
And and if you want to try that, what we should do?
So, I mean, epidemicsound.com, it's up there, it's working, it's live, it's in beta today. There are going to be tons of features that aren't there yet, but it's a beautiful start.
Amazing. And talking about experimentation, you, Steve, talk a lot about it. And I want to know, what do you recommend people to remix, to reuse? Like Jenny was saying, what do you say, 5 things? Publish 5 times, right?
3 to 5 times, yes.
It was what we were mentioning before. Which kind of tips do you do for people who need to keep experimenting and remixing the content?
Yeah, so what I would say is, let's say, in my case, for example, a typical video might be a 10-minute tutorial. So a great way of repurposing that content is, because by the time you've got that 10-minute video, the hard work's done. You've filmed it, you've edited it. So what I like to do is repurpose that content, and it enables you to connect to different audiences on different platforms. So just to give you some real-world scenarios of how that may work, let's say I've got a 10-minute YouTube tutorial. What I'll do is I'll take the hook of that video, so the opening 20 to 30 seconds, because that's where I put a lot of my effort and energy. That's the part of the video where you really want to grab people's attention. And essentially that serves as a trailer for what's coming up. So if I take that 20-second clip, I can share that as an Instagram story along with the video's thumbnail and a Watch Now button. So that will create intrigue, curiosity. It's also a great way to send traffic to your main long-form piece of content. Then, for example, let's say the video is 10 smartphone filmmaking tips. I might take tip number 8 and cut that into a standalone piece of content, which I can then use as an Instagram reel. Then, for example, maybe I've edited a cinematic sequence at the end of that tutorial. Now I can take that cinematic sequence and also upload that as a reel on Instagram. So we're repurposing, and this could be to Facebook, it could be to TikTok, it could be to Instagram. And then another little power tip here, something that I've been doing recently, is I've been going through that long-form video and just picking out say, 4 stills from that piece of content, something that might look a bit interesting, a little different, and then I'll crop those still images to square, and then I'll upload that as a carousel to my YouTube community post, and then I'll say something like, have you seen this week's video? If you haven't, be sure to check it out. I'll explain a little bit about what's in it, what you're going to learn. And because you haven't shared the video, you've just sort of shared a few slides from within that video. That, again, creates more curiosity. So 1 piece of content, 4 different platforms. It's a great way to help grow an audience outside of whatever is your main platform.
This is very clever. So yeah, I will try to do that. Then I tell
it works.
Yes. So time flies, and we are going to the last question. I will do 1 question. I want to check one by one, OK? So if I had to share one never too late to create moment for your journey, what would it be? Never too late.
Wow, OK. I'll go first. I think that I would argue it's never too late to start a business. I think that my entire family was like really, really surprised when I became an entrepreneur at the age that I did, because I didn't start immediately, sort of straight off the bat. And so I just encourage everyone to sort of, maybe once a year, have a very proper thing. Like, am I happy with my situation? Am I doing the right thing? And if the answer is no, or if it's no for a prolonged period of time, so just switch and dive into something else and follow something where you're like infinitely curious about sort of what's going on.
Awesome. Jenny, what about you?
Yeah, so I see it all the time. I work with thousands of students, of content creators looking to grow their personal brand and their pages. And I see it time and time again that people are still blowing up to this day because we're all different. We're all unique. We all have different personalities. I bet you in this room, you will not find someone that is exactly like you. And that is proof that it is not too late, because people think it's oversaturated, but you can find the right niche, you can find the right niche, find the right execution of that niche, and then incorporate your personality. It's a completely new piece of content.
This is awesome. Thank you, Jenny, for this. Steve, your time.
For me, again, I would agree, it's never too late. I fell into this, I was running a video production company for 10 years, and I was getting asked, how are you making these videos? So I started to, rather than have to repeat myself and explain to people how I was making these videos, I just made a video that summed up all of those frequently asked questions and posted it to YouTube. And that took off. People started watching those videos, so then I started posting more. And in the end, I ended up going from running a video production company to a part-time creator to a full-time creator. So sometimes it happens on purpose, sometimes it happens accidentally. But yeah, it's never too late.
So good. So it's never too late for you to begin. I will thank you very much for all your sharing experiences. And until the next time. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.